What's up, guys? It's Maverick here with another episode of Kaguya-sama. Woohoo! So, hopefully this episode will be free of any technical difficulties. Fingers crossed for that. And anyways, in the last episode, we got the current student council having a job well done. They've completed their assignments or tasks or job or however you want to call it, and it's time for them to pass on the baton to the next student council, right? Although saying that, Shirogane has decided to run for re-election, courtesy of a little push, just a little, by Kaguya. And I presume he's going to win, and once he wins, I presume he's going to bring all the gang back, right? That should be all good and well. Now, with that being said, at the end of last episode, we also see that there are others eyeing the position as well. So it seems that we are going to get into some sort of election race, and potentially with some new characters appearing on the scene to challenge Shirogane's position. So, who are those characters? Let's find out right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Plex. Campaigning. Really? And you can't just like wave or something? Asaka, returner, go, go! My thoughts exactly. I love you, Hayasaka. Oh. Oh. So, we're actually going to have an episode where Hayasaka is trying to attract the press. You know, funnily enough, I'm kind of okay with this. Like, I think it's not a secret right now, right? Hayasaka for me is my favorite girl, my best girl of this series so far. And I am actually reading the manga and some accompanying manga as well. Only up to the episodes that the anime has already, only up to the chapters that the anime has already adapted, though. But still, I do try to follow along with the manga as well. And there's actually the series, which is called the Official Doujin of Kaguya-sama, which is basically a side story sanctioned by the author as well. And, well, to keep things simple, there's actually an arc in that story where you can sort of consider it as a parallel world, let's just say. And in one of those parallel scenarios, Shogane does kinda sorta end up with Hayasaka. And I'm honestly kinda fine with it, too. And obviously this is the main series, so I'm sure everyone is rooting for Kaguya and Shogane. Oh. Down mode? Anti-Shirogane fashion. And taking care to... That's not... And also taking care to use another school's uniform. Well, Shirogane doesn't... I do kind of think like this. I do think in order to attract Shirogane, though, she needs to express her sort of knowledge, or don't be so much of an don't be so much of an airhead. I just saw the little uso on the breast. So she patted. Yeah. Dang, she's really good. Oh, she watches that. No, there has to be a follow-up to this. Oh. Oh, nice. Nice. Oh my. Hayasaka, I love you, girl. Oh, and then he's gonna walk her home? You watch for 3 hours? Dang. That's commitment. I don't think... Yeah. I don't think Shogane actually can observe that, though. Nah, it's not gonna work. This is... Really? This kind of works, I know. Literally. I love you, Hayasaka. Hmm. She's helping him with re-election. Kaguya? That she sings it herself? Oh. Yeah, isn't that way too similar? Uh. Good job, Hayasaka. Oh. I seem to recall she knows, right? Everybody is like, ah, it has to be the vice press. And all this is a result of Hayasaka. That girl is a genius. How are you gonna get out of this? The whole school is looking at them. Okay. How are you guys actually going to get out of this situation? Okay. You seriously thinking about just doing it? Hmm? I mean, at this point, pretty much. I mean, at this point, wouldn't basically the entire school pretty much think that they're together? I don't think these two are actually going to set the record straight either, right? Ah, don't get complacent. First year girl. Probably the girl from last episode. Dude, it's right there, Ishigami. Probably that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is his competition. Mm. Looks to be the serious type. A judge, eh? Oh. Public Morals Committee? You know what they say about Public Morals Committee members in comedy? Basically, the most immoral people out there. What are you doing, Shogani? Yeah, don't lower. She's actually right, you know. I mean, yeah, but you still have to say what you did. Ooh. Look at her eyes, though. She fully believes she's the representation of justice. What? Why are you guys putting yourselves as as the antagonist characters? Yeah. What? Really? Oh, yeah. Really? But isn't that putting your own personal feelings into this? That's not really indicative of a vice president, girl. But what are your ideals? Oh, here we go. Oh, she wants conservative values? I'm gonna have to go back and read that again. A quick glance, I think it's saying that more strict dressing restrictions and whatnot. Oh my god. This is an awesome episode. But let's talk more about that after this. So, see you guys right after this. Well, that happened, right? And alright, right off the bat, before we say anything else, I gotta say, I do think this might be my favorite episode across both seasons, right? So obviously I am kind of biased in a way because this episode did feature a lot of Hayasaka, and I'm coming completely in the clear here. Hayasaka is my favorite girl by far. I mean, sure, Kaguya, Fujiwara, they're all great, right? There's literally no bad characters as of right now in this series, but I just love Hayasaka. She's smart, she's talented, she can turn on the charm when she wants to. She's ruthless with her words, and contrast with Kaguya, who is more icy in terms of her ice queen persona, and versus her sort of cute and flustered type of style. She has, of course, that sort of gap is very very charming as well, but I just love how normally Hayasaka acts like, geez, you are such a moron, right? And it's uh, I don't know. They're quite similar, but also still quite different in a way. And I just love the gap that Hayasaka exhibits. This, especially the first little mini episode of this episode, that was such a pleasure to watch. Although honestly, I think I like her normal version more so than her gal version, if you will. But still, it was a pretty good excuse to get a lot of different Asaka faces and costumes, right? So, anyways, Now, obviously, with all that being said, and even though I just mentioned how she did actually kind of ended up with Shirogane in the sort of Dojin story, the official Dojin, obviously that's not going to happen here, right? And not to mention, even for a premise of this particular chapter, this particular episode, I would really think very, very less of Shogane if he did actually say yes here, right? I mean, you literally met her twice, right? And you talked for just a little while here. Even if he didn't already like Shinomiya, even if he didn't already like Kaguya, right? I would still feel like this would be really, really pushing it to sort of convince Shirogane to actually take a liking to her just by just from this. And personally, I think it's way too early. And even knowing Shirogane and his actions up to now, even if he didn't like Kaguya, I don't really think he would have said yes as well. It was really laying it on a little bit too much at the very end there. Like, I kind of liked how she went about it, right? Even though she sort of acted the airhead for a little while, she still I think she also sufficiently put herself out there as someone who studies hard as well, and is also serious when she needs to be, right? So I did like that. Now, the very last part where she was actually inviting Shirogane and asking him out, I think that one went a little bit too much, right? Saying that, okay, I'm fine if you're seeing other girls, if you have some other people you like, and all that such. I don't particularly think that's a good strategy. I think more so than that, maybe saying something like, hey, I really had fun talking to you, do you want to maybe go out sometime later or in the future, nothing committal or whatnot, just some casual, you could call it a date if you want, a rendezvous as they like to call it in Japan, but still, not actually committing to anything yet, right? So I think that would have worked a lot better. But it's a moot point anyways, since he already has his heart set on Kaguya. And speaking of which, I'm actually really surprised that Shinomiya didn't react to Shirogane saying that. On one hand, because from what we've seen so far from Kaguya, she's still not 100%, even though she acts like it should be Shinomiya falling for her and whatnot. I don't think she still gets into these type of situations where she's not entirely clear about the Prez's intentions and whatnot. And I would have fully expected her to also go into this spiral of self-doubt again, saying, huh, does he have someone he likes? What if it's someone else? What if it's not actually me? And so on and so forth, right? So, I don't know, maybe she was a little bit too preoccupied with Hayasaka this episode to think further, but I would have totally expected her to kind of freak out over saying that as well, right? I think it would have worked a little bit better if she didn't actually hear that, but only heard the rejection, right? So that is that. And also, Hayasaka, tearing up at the very end there, well, she did say before that she wanted to find someone to love as well, right? Now, obviously, I'm not entirely sure about her entire backstory yet. That's probably something we'll delve into in the future. For now, though, I do feel like she does feel kind of humiliated by this entire thing. She did, after all, put a lot of effort and whatnot into this, and I don't quite think that this is her, this isn't exactly her real personality, right? So yeah, it's poor Hayasaka, but she got her revenge in the next little episode there, right? And honestly, I was pretty much satisfied by the Hayasaka screen time here. All right, so moving on into and also one last thing, by the way, I don't know if any of you if you guys caught it because it was really just for one quick second, but the part where Hayasaka was telling a lot of lies, right? Lies. There's actually one scene where the lies was pointing to her breast because presumably she put padding in there, right? Similar to what happened when Shirogane visited Shinomiya's house as well. So anyhow, moving on to the fake confession episode here. And like I said, Hayasaka got her revenge, right? I think all the way back in season 1 when Hayasaka was first introduced, I was like, this girl, she is going to be one of those mischievous type of characters, right? She's going to do something that that's really going to be pushing the limits and boundaries of what she should be doing. And we can totally see that in this episode when she deliberately made public the fact that Shirogane was um uh asking for Kaguya, right? And you could in a way sort of also think of her as the entire catalyst to the situation that happened in this episode. So she got her revenge there. Good on her, right? And it's also because of her that we got into this situation that was oh so hilarious, right? And then we also got Fujiwara, of course, always the X factor, putting in and adding the final blow at the very end there with her words as well. Like, oh man, I haven't laughed this hard in ages. And I'm not gonna talk more about the. I think my reaction is suffice to say everything that I love about this episode. Something that I also really love though, and I really feel like this needs to be pointed out, is compared to a lot of romance comedies. One thing that I love about the ending of this particular chapter as well, or this particular mini episode as well, is that even though it started from a misunderstanding, right? And the misunderstanding was actually cleared up in the end. It was not a confession after all. Shirogane was simply asking for Kaguya to help him with his re-election. Still, it had a very wholesome ending, right? Nobody got the short end of the stick. Nobody's reputation got sullied. In a lot of these sort of rom-com situations, in a lot of these kinds of works, the male lead would typically be sort of ostracized for a while because psyched, well, how can he be so cruel, and so on and so forth, right? Basically what was going through his head in this episode as well. But at the end there, I really feel like it actually helped to move the Shoganes and Kaguya's, move them even a bit more closer together, and nothing bad happened out of it, right? They basically ran off and sort of like a Romeo and Juliet in a sense, really. So yeah, and I do think the manga and anime deserves a lot of credit for handling this particular type of cliche, this particular kind of trope in this way, so that we are kept with our smiles throughout, right? Of course, I'm sure that some people also find it funny when the male lead actually gets into some sort of situation where he's going to get yelled at and whatnot, and that is a type of humor as well. But I think this sort of ending definitely brings out the wholesomeness that has been permeating throughout the series. So really good job on that part. And honestly, I'm really curious about the aftermath about all this. They really should have gone through it a little bit more. Like, so does everybody assume that these two are actually together now, or something like that? I mean, maybe not. You can definitely see though. Again, it flashed by really quickly, but when the rumors and whatnot was spreading out that Shirogane was going to confess to Kaguya later in the day, you can see that for a lot of people, their reactions were actually something like, "Oh, finally, he's finally going to ask her," something like that, right? So it seems that the school is pretty much already mostly, rooting for them and thinking that these two should be together, right? And they're all thinking like, "Why are they beating around the bush?" So it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. And okay, finally we do get into the actual re-election kind of stuff. So we are introduced to this new character, Miko, right, of the Morals Committee. And as I mentioned in the episode, anytime in a comedy, and particularly a romance comedy, that there's a character from the Morals Committee, you can probably bet that they're going to get corrupted in the end, and basically be the opposite of what they were trying to do in the first place, right? Of course, this could go against the cliche. I'm not saying that it has to follow that, but it's just something that typically happens, right? If this was a harem of some sort, then we would be absolutely 100% sure that this figure from this girl from the Morals Committee would also fall for the main character, right? Although, of course, this isn't not really a sort of harem series. But I did like what she was saying though. She did definitely act she acted about as much as you would expect for, again, to someone who she should still respect and is, after all, her senpai, right? But at the same time, still firmly declaring her own values, her own justice, and not really backing down. So I gotta say, I do like her here, and really, I think it's a good idea to tell Shogani to not get too complacent here, as is obvious in this episode, where they start taking on the mantra of the bad guys. But still, definitely, I'm with Ishigami on this. Miko would basically be losing even if Shogani didn't do anything particular to counteract her, right? The ideals and morals that she's promoting are really, it's a miracle that she's getting support at all, to be honest. Like, she, even though it wasn't particularly translated within the episode, basically her points were boys and girls got to go back to the traditional kind of hairstyles that the Japanese schools had. You gotta wear the dress. You gotta have a more strict dress code as well. And definitely not as free to do some little stuff. Just such as Hayasaka in her gown mode. Just barely within the school regulations. Definitely none of that as well. You gotta wear long dresses over the knees for the girls. You can't bring smartphones to school. You have to have weekly bag checks and all that. And really, that's just too much. It's honestly baffling to me how anyone can actually support her, knowing that she's going to try and promote this kind of stuff, right? So she's definitely popular in some other ways as well. Because if we go back to looking at the popularity chart, she actually outpolls Shogane within the first years, right? Now, obviously, she is a first-year student. It would make sense that she's more popular with the first-year students, but still, with her actually doing things, promoting things such as this, it's a wonder that she's able to get this much votes in any case. So, obviously, people still really, really like her and think she is a good girl, right? And I can actually attest to a lot of this stuff that she's trying to promote, and I can say that I would absolutely not vote for her if I was someone from the academy. I come from a country that has a Japanese-inspired school system, and indeed throughout mid-school and high school, I had to have, I was also having to abide by the same sort of strict rules as well. And when it's really not pleasant, right? Like for guys, let's say, just for the hairstyle part. Your hair cannot actually be longer than a finger. Not this way, but this way. So if you put your hand, through for your hair and whatnot, all of this would need to be cut off, right? So it's like really strict. And then you always, when you're wearing your school uniforms, it always has to be tucked in and whatnot. You always have to have a belt and so on and so forth, right? And also, like, for instance, your socks, you have to wear long socks. You can't wear short socks or whatnot. Even if the temperature is hot, you can't take your shirt out or whatnot. It's definitely not something that I would want to go through once again. Having some sort of uniform, some kind of uniformity, I'm fine with that, but definitely not to as strict as she is trying to promote here, right? But yeah. So obviously she has her own good points as well, and like I said, she definitely, I mean, at this point, looking at her eyes and whatnot, I do like her eyes. She does definitely feel that she is representing justice. Well, we'll see how it goes, right? Although I definitely feel like her obsession with Fujiwara kind of goes against her own values, if I'm being honest here, because if you are trying to promote something where you are wanting to let's put it this way. So if you're trying to do the right thing and so on and so forth, then you definitely shouldn't be choosing your vice president based on because your own interest, right? She's looking up to Fujiwara because she plays piano herself, and she's inspired by Fujiwara's piano playing, which, by the way, is a sort of hidden talent that is revealed here. But even so, like even if we give Fujiwara all that, how does that correlate with being a good vice president, right? No. As a president, it is your duty to pick the best people most suitable for the job, right? And if she has some other reasons why she wanted to pick Fujiwara, that would be fine. But I'm not really sure that she's. I do think that she's putting some of her own personal bias into this, and being someone who is representing justice, representing fairness, and all that, I don't think she should be actually admitting that she is putting bias into her decisions, right? So, just a little catch right there. So, anyways, that was it for episode 4. Once again, this was a fantastic episode, and I was laughing my heads off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed as well. I want more Hayasaka! Alright, so anyways, I will see you guys next episode. Stay tuned, and bye-bye.